Was Claude banned for national security reasons? Or was this a conspiracy that had been orchestrated all along? That's not something I'm willing to claim outright. But if it was, whose hands were pulling the strings? That's exactly what I kept asking myself as I followed this story unfold in mid-June 2026. June 10th, 2026. Anthropic introduces Claude Fable 5. According to the company, this wasn't just a routine upgrade. They called it a leap into an entirely new tier of capability, a system powerful enough to tackle more complex software engineering problems, reason at greater depth, and handle tasks that previously required entire teams of specialists. But Anthropic also acknowledged something else. The more powerful the model, the greater the risk. So they built in more layers of protection than ever before. June 12th, within just a few hours, one of the most powerful artificial intelligence models in the world was disabled by an order from the United States government. The directive came from the Department of Commerce under the banner of Export Controls for National Security. On the surface, it sounds reasonable, but the more I read, the more questions I had, and the fewer answers. Why was a chatbot being treated like military technology? Why did a private AI company have to disable its own product globally in a matter of hours? And what unsettled me most, if this was purely about national security, then why did so many details not add up? This video isn't here to prove a conspiracy theory. I don't have evidence that anyone deliberately set out to take Anthropic down. But today, I want to invite you to look at each piece of the puzzle. And by the time this story ends, you might find yourself asking the same questions I am. Anthropic said they received only verbal evidence of a potential bypass of their safety mechanisms, not a detailed technical dossier, a decision that could affect millions of users, a decision shaping the future of one of America's largest AI companies, made while the company itself says it wasn't given the full technical basis. If the risk was truly serious enough to require an immediate shutdown, why weren't the technical details shared with the very company being ordered to act? The directive targeted foreign nationals, but the initial outcome was a model disabled across a far broader scope. Was this an unavoidable technical consequence, or a sign that the decision moved too fast for even Anthropic to prepare? But what made me stop the longest wasn't the ban itself. It was the timing. Anthropic had recently filed confidentially for an IPO in the United States, and Claude Fable 5 was seen as the flagship product that could cement the company's position in the AI market. A company on the verge of its most defining moment. A brand new model just introduced to the world. And then, just days later, is that a coincidence? Or just the way history tends to happen? At exactly the moment that makes you stop and ask why? There's one rule I always remind myself of when I'm investigating any story. Never just look at the event. Look at what happened before it. Anthropic had reportedly declined certain contract terms that would have allowed their AI models to be used for activities like domestic surveillance or fully autonomous weapon systems. This was no longer just a debate about technology. It was a debate about ethics. How far should AI serve human ends? And who gets to draw that line? Anthropic made their choice. The government may have had different priorities. Reuters also reported that Anthropic was placed on a restricted list in defense supply chains following those disputes. When you put them all on the same timeline, the picture becomes a lot more complicated. The company stated that if the standard applied in this case became the norm for the entire industry, the release of advanced AI models in the future could be stalled for every developer. Anthropic wasn't saying the government has no right to protect national security. They weren't denying the risks that powerful AI can pose. What they questioned was whether the standard used here was set too broadly. Because if the mere existence of an unconfirmed, unproven bypass method is enough to pull a model from the market, then couldn't any AI company end up in the same position? And then I started looking at the competitors. OpenAI, xAI, Meta. This is where I have to be extremely careful. As of now, I have not seen any public evidence that these companies received favorable or unfavorable treatment in connection with what happened to Anthropic. But I still found myself wondering, if other AI models reach comparable capabilities in the future, will they face the same standard or different ones? According to Reuters, experts warn that Fable 5 could be used to accelerate the discovery of software vulnerabilities, effectively giving bad actors a more powerful tool for cyber attacks. Honestly, that's a legitimate argument. Nobody wants a powerful tool weaponized for destructive purposes. But then, Anthropic argued that advanced AI models from other providers have demonstrated similar capabilities in certain software vulnerability tasks. If the risk lies in AI capability in general, will future policy apply to the entire industry? Or is what happened to Anthropic just the first move? After sitting with this for a while, I started looking in a different direction. If this isn't just Anthropic's story, then who stands to gain when a major competitor is forced to slow down? The first name that came to mind was xAI. Not because I have evidence against Elon Musk. I don't. In any competitive industry, when a major rival is forced to pause, the remaining players gain time. That's a law of competition, not proof of collusion. That doesn't mean every question has been answered. It just means that right now, we have to be very clear about the difference between what's been proven and what's still only a hypothesis. That's the distance between a coincidence, a policy side effect, and a conspiracy. And that distance can only be closed by evidence. And then I closed the screen, and I sat with everything I'd just read. Each piece on its own can be explained. But when you put them side by side, they form a picture that a lot of people are still arguing about. This is no longer just a competition between tech companies. It's where technology, economics, law, national security, and geopolitics begin to intersect, and every government decision can redirect an entire industry. It can make winners, it can make losers, and it can shape the future of artificial intelligence for years to come. Maybe in a few years, looking back at this moment, we'll understand exactly why it happened. Or maybe this will remain one of the most contested chapters in the history of the AI race. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think primarily drove the decision to restrict access to Anthropic's most advanced models? Let me know in the comments. Because maybe, in your comments, the next piece of this puzzle is waiting. That's the whole story.